soulpreneurs tell their stories so they can connect to their audiences, they can convert to sales, and they can create impact in their communities. So if you're here, as you're coming in, as we're starting to come in both on Instagram and Facebook, give me a wave, a howdy, or a hello, something in the chat to let me know that you're here so that I know that I'm live and not talking to the void. This is a conversation, communication, and that is so very, very important to me. So definitely let me know where you're coming in from. So Valerie's here from Las Vegas. Hey, Valerie, nice to have you. And Molly's here. Hey, Molly, nice to have you as well. So I definitely am live, which is a big, fat plus to know. Okay, so imposter syndrome. That's the topic today. And leaning into your story. So have you asked yourself, who am I to fill in the blank? Who am I to fill in the blank? Or maybe you've asked yourself, or told yourself even, I'm too old for this, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I don't have enough money, I don't have the right connections. Or maybe it manifests as comparisonitis. Do you compare yourself to others? Like, I'll never be as good as fill in the blank. Oh, Dallas is in the house. Hey, Portia Davis, great to have you. And it may also be a fear of needing another certification. Anybody guilty of that? Or needing another degree? Like, I'm not good enough if I don't have another degree, or if I don't have a certification. So if you doubt your qualifications, that means you're probably, more than probably, likely actually qualified. Let me say that again. If you doubt, it's a good thing. Because have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Anybody ever heard of this? Raise your hand if you've heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's this cognitive bias that people with limited knowledge or competence, experience, greatly overestimate their own knowledge or their competence or their experience. And those of us that don't, or those of us that do question rather, actually have more experience. So what I'm saying is, I'd be more worried about you if you didn't question your authority at all. I'd be more worried about you if you didn't question it at all. And if you're like my students, which we have a few here, Molly and Meredith, they're actually overqualified. Most of them are overqualified for what they need, and they don't yet know it. So what do you do when you have this imposter syndrome? Because it can be crippling, right? It can be totally crippling to people. So what do? You lean into your story. What do I mean by that? I mean, go back your train up all the way to the very beginning of when you began, and sit down, take out a pen. This is the pro tip here. Take out a piece of paper, take out a pen, old school, handwritten. I love this, right? And start writing. And as you write, what I want you to look at is every job you've ever had. And I mean ever. From like, oh, babysitting when I was 13 years old, to that first job waiting tables, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then after you write that out, write also every training you ever took, every class you've ever taken, any piece of education you've ever had. And what you will soon learn is you'll look and you'll see the patterning in it. You'll see these patterns that make you go, ooh, I'm likely overqualified, right? I'm likely overqualified for what I'm doing, and that I need to step in and own it. Own myself through this story, through this weave of the story of my life. All these little bits and pieces come together to bring me to where I am today. So it's a great exercise, not only to help you overcome imposter syndrome, yeah, because even if you do believe you're overqualified, as Portia Davis is saying, that it still comes up from time to time. For me, it still creeps up. Super qualified. Here I am teaching story. I teach story, right? I got some Tony Awards back there, right? I've got awards that say, hey, you know what you're doing. And yet still, there's that little part of me, that voice deep inside that says, I'm not sure I do. Who am I to? ... It's insidious. It creeps back in. But going back to your story, I piece it together. And when I look back at it and I piece it all and trace it all together, I'm like, oh, I do know what I'm doing. I am qualified for this. I do need to own it, step up, be the person, be the quote unquote authority. That's not my favorite word in the world, but be somebody who can be a thought leader, who can help with transformation in the world, who can help people think differently. And that's through your story. So writing it out is super helpful. And not only that, not only will that be helpful, but you will have a wealth of stories to draw from, to use when you're teaching, when you are creating, when you are marketing yourself. There is a wealth of stories there. Yes, be. Exactly. Just simply be. That's really what we're talking about. It's owning who you are, leaning into that past, taking it and helping it to propel you forward. Because there's that beautiful Marianne Williamson quote, right? Where it's, who am I to be? And you can fill in the blanks. And then she says, who are you not to be, right? Who are you not to be? Who are you not to stand fully in your power? Because there's somebody out there that needs your message. They need what you have to say. There's transformation that they need. And you are robbing them of that experience. You're robbing them if you're not sharing your story. You're robbing them if you're not leaning in, because they need you. They need you. So if your imposter syndrome has something to do with, anything to do with going live like this, I know for me, okay, I was an actor, right? So you would think that being on stage, talking live is super simple, easy, breezy. Nope. Oh, hell no, you all, hell no. Actually, it's rather difficult for me because I was used to playing a character. I was used to having lines. I was used to expressing somebody else's words. And when I had to just come on and talk, I remember the first time I got up on stage and had to talk, I was scared to death. Beads of sweat running down my face. I was shaky. And because I didn't have a structure, I didn't have a way to do it. And it brought up so much imposter syndrome. Speaking of imposter syndrome, like, who am I to be doing this, right? Who am I? And I had to create a structure. And so I did, and it works. And it's part of my course, Real Stories That Sell. But it's also, I also have a guide, a free guide that I'm going to put in the chat for you to click right on it. And it's a storytelling guide for going live with video. To help you have a structure like I just do, so that you feel comfortable, confident, etc., and you can lean into your story and share yourself fully. Portia is a former actor too. Yes, hello, actors in the house, all the actors in the house. Ooh, awesome. I'll put that in for you. You can click right on it and join us. In the meantime, for those of us in the US, have a great holiday weekend. For everyone else, happy regular weekend. And I'll be back on Monday with more stuff. Step into yourself, lean into your story, own your power. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you for being live. And if you're on the replay, #replay. I'll answer any questions.